Hello guys, this is Lovejeet. Welcome to my show Hot Seat. Today's guest is someone who's very inspiring, who inspired me as well and inspired a lot of young generations. His name is Sir Cameron Brewer. He's a member of parliament from National Party and Upper Harbour. And especially about him is he's a very, very inspiring leader for all the generations. And let's discuss with him about his life and about his future and in politics as well. Welcome to the show, sir. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, thank you for such a generous introduction. I certainly don't get one of those when I'm in the chamber at Parliament.
Sir, first of all, I know it's a surprisingly, but I'm going to wish you a happy birthday because this is your birthday week as well, I think. Yes,
thank you. Yeah, no, it's been a relatively quiet birthday, but I had it with my family. I've got two boys and we went down to the drags,
nice,
the fast cars in Mary, just south of Auckland, so it was a lot of fun.
That's good, sir. So let's start with your lifestyle a little bit, because when I was reading about you, it's a really interesting story about you. You inspire a lot of young generations, especially when you started as a very young age. You was the first young person to start a newspaper publisher. Yeah. What's that about, sir?
Oh, well, yeah, I was labelled by a magazine at the time in 1996, 97, 98. I was running I founded a community newspaper in Dunedin, and it was called Inside Otago, and I was fortunate enough to get it up,
yes,
a monthly freebie if you like, get it up to a stage where I could sell it on to a investor who took it another step further. So I'd studied journalism, I'd completed my university degree at Massey University in Palmerston North. I found myself in Dunedin after university, and initially was kind of working in sales, and then I thought, well, I can write, I can sell,
yeah.
Why don't I set up a community newspaper? And
yes,
so that's what I did, and it enabled me to get around as a 23, 24, 25-year-old, get around Otago, meeting fabulous people, small businesses, selling them advertising,
yes,
writing stories about them. Politicians, you know, I got into Sir Michael Cullen, the late Michael Cullen's electorate office,
yeah,
and interviewed him in South Dunedin. And so it was a really interesting time, and I'm pleased I did it. And you know, we were able to make a profit every month.
Nice.
And then in late 1998 I moved to Wellington.
That's very interesting. So like from the start you actually helping community from even at your job as well. So now you being a politician and still helping people grow even in Auckland and Upper Harbour as I remember Parliament here.
Yeah.
So you mostly from start helping people, and also the really good fact about you work alongside Jenny Shipley as well.
Yes. Well, she when I sold the newspaper and moved up to Wellington, I got a job. I got a job before I left to make sure I had a job when I got to Wellington, and that was in the National Party's research unit in Parliament buildings. Nice. And so at the age of 25, at the end of 1998, I got a job there, and Jenny Shipley was the Prime Minister of the day. It was in the last kind of 15 months of that national government of the 90s. And then when Helen Clark was elected Prime Minister in 1999, I was lucky enough to go across to Jenny Shipley's office as leader of the opposition and be one of her press secretaries, effectively her junior press secretary. So I did that for a couple of years, and that was really interesting as well. So going back to Parliament as an MP was 25 years, almost to the day,
yeah,
from when I started in 1998.
Yeah.
And I can report that in 1998 as a 25-year-old, I had a much bigger office, a nicer office,
yeah,
a water view, and I go back as a backbencher MP, and we're in a shared office in the old parliamentary library. No view,
no.
But really happy to have the opportunity,
yeah,
to serve the good people of Upper Harbour.
Especially you worked so hard, sir, where you are right now actually, because people don't know about your life stories, because they can see you today as a successful leader and as a really good political leader, because people actually inspire from your work, because I mostly watch your Instagram stories and you always share good content, especially the bill you was introducing in the parliament about life jackets for the children.
Oh yes, the life jacket bill. I was just writing a column for that for one of our local magazines. You know, this magazine here.
Yes.
Yeah. So you recognise anyone there? Anyway, we'll give the Westerly a plug. And the life jacket bill is something that I put up into the ballot. In the members' ballot, it got drawn, and so now it's going through Parliament. And the debate now is, do we just have life jackets, make life jackets mandatory for children on small boats, or do we expand it to adults? And so submissions are open now to whether New Zealanders want life jackets for all Kiwis on small boats, just not children, because the statistics point to people about my age and stage are the ones that are drowning, middle-aged men, not so much children. And so that is something that the Transport and Infrastructure Select Committee is looking at, is life jackets for all. And if we were able to achieve even life jackets for children, if that's one thing I can push through Parliament and own, then I'd be very happy with that.
I think that's a very good step, sir, to be honest, because especially reading the news, so many men's being thrown, and especially in the beaches, you know, stuff like that. And I think that's a very good step when I was reading about you, and I think that can be a really good gift to Aucklanders as well if they recognize that. And that can only done by the strong and good leader who actually think of people, you know. So that's a very good step. And with your early life, sir, you work as you served as Auckland councillor as well. What's that insights about? Anything you want to share about that?
Well, that's been quite useful. I had 6 years on the council, and at one stage I was the youngest councillor. But that was good because there's quite a few transferable skills. I was fortunate enough to be elected in 2010, and I came in with the biggest majority of all the councillors, but I was the only councillor who hadn't been on a city, regional or district council. So that was and I was basically going up against the National Party in the eastern suburbs of Auckland City, Remuera, Kohimarama, St Heliers kind of area, and a seat called Oraki, a ward called Oraki, which Dearsley Simpson, the deputy mayor, now has. And so to come in on that inaugural amalgamated council, where we had 7 or 8 councils come together, was really interesting, and a real privilege to work alongside a lot of local government luminaries who had been big players in previous years and decades. So so that was 6 great years, and then going to Parliament, it means that you have got some experience with at kind of select committee kind of level, because in council you're always listening to people who make submissions to the annual plan and long-term plan, and so when people are coming now making submissions to our legislation, and I'm chairing the Finance and Expenditure Committee, there have been some transferable skills that I've been able to take from local government through to central government. Yes, it's different, but there's certainly, if anything, it's been a help.
It helped. And also, when you talk about majorities, majority votes is actually stuck with you. So even 2023 elections, you won with majority as well. And as such, actually, not only the councillors, and even the MPs election, you won with majority as well. And also, I saw that you're pushing the infrastructure in Auckland and cost of living things. What do you look at it like? What do you think? What's your points of views on that, like cost of living and infrastructure in Auckland, especially?
Well, we've got to do a lot more with infrastructure, and recently the Infrastructure Commission was tasked by the Infrastructure Minister to come up with a 30-year plan, a 30-year pipeline. And what they discovered is that New Zealand needs 275 billion spent on infrastructure, and it covers about 11,500 projects. Now, we haven't got the money, as you can imagine. So we have got to prioritise. We've got to bring in foreign capital. We might have to take on more debt, although that's not a National Party thing. We're all about lowering the debt, and we're making some successful inroads into that already. Where debt was tracking, and it had a huge increase under the last Labor government during COVID, and after COVID. We want to kind of slow down debt so it's starting to track down. We're always going to have debt,
Yeah.
but we just don't want too much because we have to pay interest bills of
Yes,
about
yes.
10 billion every year. So on infrastructure, I'm really pleased to be part of a project like the Northwest Busway, which is now off the ground. 500 million
Nice.
has been allocated to that, and that'll mean a dual carriage dedicated bus
Yeah, that
lane
would be good.
from Westgate, from
Yes.
Costco.
Yes.
You know, many of your viewers will know where I'm talking about now, from Costco all the way back into the city, separate from the motorway,
Yes.
with big stations at Westgate, park and ride just north of Westgate, and then stations at Lincoln Road, Te Atatu Road, Point Chevalier. It'll be staged.
Yeah.
It'll be $4 billion, and it probably should have been done 20 years ago,
Yes.
but we've committed to that. And also our great Education Minister,
Yeah.
Erica Stanford's committed to some builds as far as a new school in Red Hills, just
Yes.
close to Westgate there, a brand new primary school that will be open term 1 next year. And, you know, over 30 more classrooms are now under construction in the Upper Harbour area, and so that's part of our infrastructure pool as well. So we've got a lot of things going on, but there's still so much to do. We would like council to fix a few local roads and put in a
Yes.
few roundabouts and things, because this area of Upper Harbour
Yes.
has seen, you know, some of the highest growth across New Zealand in
Yeah.
the last 10, 20 years.
Exactly.
That's where the seat grew out of, because all of a sudden so many people arrived here. And Upper Harbour, the electorate, was created in 2014. Paula Bennett, the former Deputy Prime Minister, was its MP for 6 years. And so we've got a lot of growth challenges, a lot of growth pains. And so some MPs are focused on some things, but for us, we're basically a new area full
Yeah.
of many new Aucklanders. And what they want us to focus on is better public transport, better roading, more housing, and more jobs and opportunities.
Exactly. So that's really, really good point actually, because especially around your area here, when I just mostly, I never came mostly this side, this is my first or second time I think, and your areas around is really, really beautiful around there, so well looked after, which is very good. And other thing, I was watching your Instagram story, sir, I want to highlight that to people as well. What's that COVID spend with the opposition leader?
Oh well, if you're going to give me the opportunity, the House didn't give me the opposition. I think I took 17 minutes, according to Radio New Zealand, to deliver a 10-minute speech because the points of order and the opposition trying to shut me down. But the main point is that 66 billion was spent during COVID.
Yes.
And that was the COVID Response and Recovery Fund. But what we know now, according to a Royal Commission and a Treasury long-term insights briefing statement, what we now know is that Labor, yes, they spent 66 billion, but half of that, or at least 47%, was spent on non-COVID response measures, i.e. other programs.
Yeah.
And so they used that COVID. Our argument is they used COVID as a bit of a Trojan horse to push through their other agenda, and in the fund called the COVID Response and Recovery Fund. And so the top end of it is they spent way too much money. It was all borrowed money.
Yeah.
And those that are going to have to pay it back are sadly our children and grandchildren.
Exactly.
We needed to help businesses and we needed to get people vaccinated.
Yeah.
But what we know now is that 2 years later, the spending was still accelerating, and the findings also showed that Auckland was locked down.
Yes.
Overall, Auckland was locked down for 6 months.
Yeah.
At the end of 2021, it was locked down from August to December for 107 days.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting around mostly double jabbed at that stage.
Yes.
And the official advice to Labor, as these reports have revealed, showed that that advice to the Labor government was, it's time to unlock Auckland, and they refused to. And so you can have your own theory as to why they continued to lock us down. But it has caused huge and disproportionate cost to Aucklanders and their businesses. You know, I've got a son aged 9, and so he started school in 2021, and I don't think he's quite recovered. You know, he missed a lot of school, and so there's a lot of elderly that we know in our community that went into lockdown,
Yes.
and never quite came out of lockdown. They
Yes.
lost their confidence.
Yes.
There's a lot of businesses that lost customers
They've
and
been
haven't been able to get them back
shut down as
because
well.
they were shut down. So there's been huge consequences, and we just think it was outrageous that Chris Hipkins, Jacinda Ardern, Grant Robertson, Aisha Verrill, all those leaders, economic, Prime Minister, health leaders, refused to front up to the Royal Commission in person. Yet just recently, when the Royal Commission report was delivered, they were the first to send out press releases defending themselves. So look, however you look at it, these are not National Party reports. These are Royal Commission's and Treasury's reports.
Yes.
They tread very carefully with their findings, but their findings are incredibly damning in this instance, and the Labour Party should be held to account. And frankly, how Mr Hipkins is still standing is unbelievable. I tell you what, if that was a National Party Prime Minister that oversaw that and was then trying to become Prime Minister again,
Yes.
that person wouldn't have a chance.
To be honest, that's very shameful because most of people can't even afford cost of living. So I think that's where the cost of livings are high, because COVID actually bring a lot of people down, and that's right. Most of people not even able to spend that time with family during Christmas and New Year because it's been missed out because of the lockdown. And it's actually very shameful. And also, especially the things national government, only thing is I support are really, with me, so I support right people, you know. And I think with the crime rate I can see now, or I can see before, it's really reduced.
Yeah, you've noticed that?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, you know, we can really point to as real progress within quite a short time frame.
Yeah.
Because the purpose was very clear and the solutions were very clear. You know, people didn't want us to take, the Labour Party particularly, didn't want us to take patches off gang members.
Yes.
You know, everyone said, oh, well, how's that going to work? They'll be, police will lose their lives. You know, how's the constable out the back of Whangamongama and Taranaki, how's he going to wrestle a gang with patches and that? The reality is police have worked behind the scenes with gangs and have these relationships, and they've said, you know, this is the law, please respect it, and we haven't had a huge problem. And subsequently, gangs are not intimidating the public like they used to. We used to see them take over the Southern Motorway, where at Tangi they would take over community, community streets, and they would take over villages and towns basically, and the police were reduced to kind of being traffic control. And so that, and also you would have seen with retail crime, that has fallen too.
That's really low.
You know, we had retailers here, and they probably still do, operating out of cages. They were the ones in jail.
Yes.
What they tell me now, whether it's in Massey or other parts of Upper Harbour, is that retail crime has reduced, as have serious assaults as well. And so we've got 49,000 less victims now than we did under the previous government. And so, you know, we're seeing some real results. We've got to do better. We've got a police station now in CBD Auckland.
Yes.
We've got more police out on the beat, even here in Henderson, beat police. And that presence has really lifted. But that is, you know, I want to pay tribute to our police and corrections minister, Mark Mitchell, and our new police commissioner too.
Yes, that's very good actually, because I know that National is actually promised to bring new police officers as well, and they're trying their best, because I went to Lantern Festival. There was a police, they have a police tent over there just to engage people to join police as well, and just to tell them what's a police look like and stuff like that. So you guys doing their best to make people to join New Zealand police as well, but you guys can't force anyone, which is right, you know. What's the one policy, sir, you guys actually working on right now for moving forward to the elections?
Look, there's a myriad of things that we're working on. I'm chairing a caucus policy group, as you know, caucuses, the members, the 49 MPs are working on coming up with some policies as well for us to put in our manifesto to campaign on. The reality is it's a very tough fiscal environment. We're not going to have a lot of new money. The new money, I think, is about 2.4 billion. So we're recycling, we're making ministries more efficient, we're putting resources from the back office to the front office. So, excuse me, there's a Yeah, there's a lot of policy work underway. I chair the Finance and Expenditure Committee.
Yes.
We oversee the likes of regular appearances by the Governor of the Reserve Bank, the new Governor of the Reserve Bank. We keep very close to the legislation that the Minister of Finance is putting through, the legislation that the Minister of Revenue is putting through, the Minister of Regulation is putting through. And so that is a key and one of the biggest and most important select committees on in Parliament, Finance and Expenditure, and I've got some really good colleagues doing some good work there. But our focus going into the November 7 election is cost of living.
Cost of living.
The reality is house prices went up 30% after all that spending, all that funny money, printing of funny money. House prices went up 30%. Cost of living, food prices in 1 year went up over 12%.
Yes.
Inflation overall was well over 7%. And so all those prices are kind of baked in now, but albeit house prices then went down and have now levelled out. Rents have also down, if not level, so that's good. So our main attack, this focus and attack this election will be on cost of living, and we're pleased that we have got inflation down, but that still doesn't mean prices are down. That means they're just increasing not as much. But if we can fix the economy, we fix the cost of living, because if you generate high inflation and throw a lot of government money out, as we saw in those early 2020s under the Labor government, it has huge consequences. And all of a sudden the inflation, they end up putting interest rates up and everything else. So inflation's come down, interest rates have come down to a much more comfortable level.
It's been a very tough job.
But now we've got to drive the economy because we want wages to go up. Because there's a lag effect. Everyone's seen the costs go up, but their wages haven't moved that much. So we're all about growing the economy, because we know with a strong economy, that's what will deliver better health, better education, better law and order. The richest countries on earth are the ones that have the best environmental record, for example, because they can afford to. And so we've got an option of just just slowly getting more and more mediocre in New Zealand and just merging into mediocrity, or we can get the country back that my parents lived in, which was towards the top of the OECD in education standards and health delivery and the likes of that. And so we are just trying. We've all come out of small business mostly, or private practice, or off the farm. We're all in the government now to try and set up the country so it can grow and prosper, and so our kids and grandkids can have a country that we were lucky to live in.
Exactly. So it's been a very tough job, but you guys doing your best. I know that. But especially when I was reading Nancy's post as well, you guys boosting tourism as well. The tourism is actually really boost. I think it's been boosted and it brings so much money into the country as well. So what do you look into tourism and sort of things like that? Yeah,
well, tourism's something that's is bouncing back. Over COVID, tourism was down, and then we kind of, a couple of years ago, it was kind of running at about 80% of 2019 pre-COVID numbers. But what we know now, and I don't know the latest statistics, but what we know now is that tourism numbers are returning. And despite this conflict we're seeing in the Middle East, we're hopeful that will continue to be the case. We've put more money into major events sponsorship and tourism branding, and trying to get, our number one tourists are Australians, trying to get New Zealand back on the radar for them. And it seems to be working. We are getting the international tourists back. So that has always been a big part of our economy.
Definitely.
People were concerned of over-tourism, but at the end of the day, I think we can strike a good balance. So many businesses directly or indirectly rely on tourism. And yes, we don't want to ruin our great walks and everything else, but no, we also don't want to see all our mostly small, medium enterprises involved in tourism suffer as well. So it's about striking that balance, and we've got our tourism minister, a senior cabinet minister, Louise Upston, focused on that, and we're seeing some good results.
Yes, very good results as well. So what motivates you most of the day today? It's been a really tough job, so you're doing, as I can hear that. What motivates you today like most? I know Christopher Luxon, which leader admire you most like?
Oh, well, we've always got to say the Prime Minister of the day, don't we? And no, but seriously, you know, our Prime Minister was at a luncheon yesterday, and he pretty much said, you know, I get beaten up by a lead pole every day of the week by the media, and that is true. He does get beaten up, and past Prime Ministers have too.
Yes.
But he has shown his resilience. You can see that the National Caucus, the 49 MPs, are right behind him.
Yes,
there's no one leaking or saying something different, or no one putting up a challenge.
Yes.
And you know, the media would love to create a story and force us to change the leader, but that's not going to happen.
Yes.
You know, he's an exceptional person, and you know, at this Lexus charity lunch on the North Shore for the North Harbour Club at North Harbour Stadium yesterday, the people I was speaking to afterwards, after he presented, was like, wow, he's so much better than the media try and portray.
Yes,
the media pick out, you know, 6 seconds of him when he probably sounds his worst.
Exactly.
Or, and when you hear him talking, as we did in a kind of fireside chat environment yesterday to 500 people, you can see just how focused he is, how much knowledge he brings, that he's had 16 years overseas, that he's headed our #1 airline and put that in a firmer position. And so he brings incredible clarity to the job. And again, the mantra is fixing the cost of living, economy, law and order, health and education. And he said, look, I'm just coming in to do this job and to try and get some better outcomes. And we're seeing them, but it's frustrating for all because it's not happening as fast as we'd like. But if you look at other economies, comparable Western economies particularly, everyone is in the cost of living crisis post-COVID. And every government and Prime Minister or President is suffering. You know, it was the COVID governments that kind of got kicked out. Now it's the post-COVID governments that are under enormous pressure. And let's just hope, as I said, the Iranian conflict doesn't prolong because that, you know, oil is at the heart of any modern economy in the global context, and if there's a shortage there and fuel prices continue to escalate, then that brings another set of challenges for New Zealanders.
Exactly, for you guys is actually.
And for us.
For you guys is actually. Also, the only thing is I want to let you know, so like you started at a very young age, you know. What one message you want to give to your younger generation today? Like we wanted to hear from you, like what one message you will say, because you started in 1990s as a newspaper publisher. You know?
I know. My staff can't believe that I was kind of getting around in the 1990s. You know, they're a lot younger than me. But well, I just think, and I look back now, like when I set up that newspaper, I wouldn't do that now, because when you get older, you start getting too many commitments around you, and more importantly, you start probably becoming a little bit more fiscally scared as well, and you lack a little bit of confidence into starting something new, whereas you don't know what you don't know. And so my message to young people, I suppose, is do things when you're young. Don't think, oh, maybe I'll do that when I'll travel first, and maybe I'll go to university, and then maybe I'll just get a job, and then maybe I'll set up my dream business when I'm in my 40s. Do it if you can. If there's any way that you're able to live your dream, whether it's whether it's in business, or whether it's with your community, or whether, whatever it is, sporting, do it while you're young, because that is the time that you've got a bit of freedom, you've got often got more confidence, and you've got the energy. And as you progress through life, you get things like rents or mortgages or children, and they're all, the latter is very positive in one's life, but it does limit you as to what you can do. You can't just throw your job in and go, I'm going to go to London for. So my message is just, if you've got a dream, don't wait. See if you can start living it while you're young, because that's probably the best chance you've got. Because once you get older, you get too many responsibilities, you get too cautious, in your outlook on life, and you get more. You've got too much to lose by trying. Whereas when you're young, go
Yes.
for it.
Yeah, that's very inspirational, sir. And the last thing, for anything for your voters, sir, because people actually going to vote you again and you're going to win again with the high majority. So any message for the voters you're going to give?
Oh, I suppose the message for the voters of Upper Harbour is I am keen for re-election as your local MP. I live locally, I live in Hobsonville Point, I live and breathe the community.
Yeah.
And we are focused, we know we've got a lot of work to do, but we are focused on providing more infrastructure, and ensuring communities are safe, and ensuring that we have a good education system, and the provision of enough schools and classrooms, ensuring that law and order continues to track down, that our retailers are safer, that our people out in the community living at home by themselves and that feel safer. Our health services, we will continue to fund more cancer drugs as we have done through Pharmac. We will continue to put more money into health. This budget, you will see most of the new money will be going into health.
That's very good.
It's a huge job.
That's a huge
And we will continue to support our older New Zealanders too, whether it's their winter energy payment, we're committed to that, whether it's their universal superannuation entitlements, we are committed to that, and more importantly, and just as importantly, the younger people of New Zealand as well. We are committed to making sure that we can have a country going forward that enables them to live their dream, whatever that version of the Kiwi dream is. We don't believe in equality of outcome, but equality of opportunity. Every 5-year-old going to school should have an equal shot at whatever their New Zealand dream is.
That's right.
And that's what we want to preserve. We don't want New Zealand growing into two New Zealands.
Yes, sir.
So we are all about giving those 5-year-olds equal shots, and we want them to stay in the country. And we firmly believe that New Zealand's best years are ahead of us.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for your time today. I really appreciate it. That's the
thank
finishing.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.